Hello YouTube, Ronin Kaze, take 2. So, number 1, if you've ever been married, if your spouse texts you, it jacks up your recording. I'm recording on an old iPhone 13 mini, and I'm relatively close, as you can see, to it. I have my monitor watching something that won't turn off, so that's why it's a little bit lighter. And I got, darken lights. And today I'm in the Division Legendary. Previously, I've been trying to install Cachy OS on my Lenovo Legion Go. And I installed the handheld version. I wasn't happy with it. I kept booting into the Steam Deck mode. I didn't want that. I just want a portable computer that's small in that form factor. It's not bad that it has those joysticks. It's easier to carry it. It's okay. Has a little mouse built in. It's all right. But I had problems. Yesterday I had loaded, 2 or 3 different times I loaded up ISOs on there, and I loaded up. It was a desktop ISO, but it looked like a game ISO. And I installed it, and then it got into the boot, and once it had finished installing, I'm starting it up, and it has the A and B for my buttons, and I'm like, I don't want this. So I put my other thumb drive in with the ISO on it. That was the game deck ISO. So then that, I got halfway through. When you get in the boot screen of that, when it gives you the final choices of what your desktop environment can be, it only has one choice for you. So I was like, crap. So I switched it back, put the other one in. So I got it working last night. When I booted up, it's still in game mode. So I'm like, okay, stopped for the evening, unplugged it from the hub, and I just was going to use it in that Steam Deck mode. So I guess I got to just learn how to use it this way. I'm not a joystick player. I'm a keyboard and mouse player. I'm trying to learn the other way, but I'm old, YouTube old. So when I'm sitting there fooling around with it, I notice it has this thing where I can change it, and I'm like, oh crap. So pause. One of the great things about Linux is you can have whatever kind of interface into the computer you want. And when I started all this, I said, let's not make it about the road. Let's make it about the games. Let's make it about the car. And you see what's happening. I'm caring about how the road is. Like, this is the dumb part of computers. It's nice to play, but at the end of the day, it's nice to play with, but I just want to get my games working. So then I realized I can change. So when I woke up this morning, I could change it to just go straight into desktop mode, which is what I wanted. The other mode's still there because in Linux, I can have whatever desktop environment I want. That's one of the advantages of the Linux. If I don't like the look and feel, I can change it relatively easy and kind of swap back and forth between the desktops. Windows has all these things. When I was in Windows like 98 and Windows 7, you'd want to do all these, put all these widgets and all this other stuff. Really, Linux has kind of had that flexibility for a long time. So I got that working. Number 2, this morning I installed the Division 2, and I was like, yeah, Division 2. Right now you can see I'm in Tidal Basin. I'm with 2 kind of small players. Me and the other guy, which are bigger players, both have that refractor, so we're trying to heal all the time. These guys are dropping. If you ever go into Legendary in the Division 2, it's a lot tougher, so hang back. These guys are pushing like crazy, and they don't got the builds to push. But anyways, so I get that working. Then I'm going to install Guild Wars, and Guild Wars has to be installed separately as a non-Steam game. Oh, crap. So I download the Guild Wars 2 setup exe, and then I'm kind of stuck. Well, it says just add that as a game and then run it. I do that, it won't run. I change there's a way to make it compatible, and they have this thing called Proton. I picked one, and eventually it worked, and it downloaded and installed Guild Wars 2. So I'm super happy. Onto my SDHC card. So it's exactly where I want it. It's going to fade into the back unless you guys want me to do more Linux gaming. I'm just going to do it because that's how my setup is. But on games that are kind of harder, like a harder game is going to be Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I think it's going to be harder to install. And. So, long story short, that's where we are. And again, let me go over the Linux part. This is my fake headset. I now have them hooked in. It's all for aesthetics because I'm a scrub. Linux works great. If you have a Windows 10 PC, just do it. Do it all. Override everything. Also, just for the codgers out there, you want some type of computer system that you can take with you everywhere. So in my previous job, I was just I interface with seniors a lot, and just the level of happiness that seniors that knew how to work their devices, they were much more happy than the people that didn't. So if you're under 60, you should learn how to use your devices. And really what I told you earlier, if I could run all this stuff on an iPad Pro, I would do that because they're fantastic. But they just don't emulate the games right now. They won't let you do that. There's going to be a point where it lets you. Why do I? Like I got a Mac Mini, and what I did is there's a program called Luma Display, and you can use that to run a headless, excuse me, a headless Mac Mini. So then I had like everything all at once. But that's a different thing for a different time, YouTube. So I got that working. So the nightmare of the Linux is over. Wasn't really a nightmare. I don't want to devote a lot of time to it. I'd like to rather play games and then talk about other things. And today I was going to talk about, in the United States, it's Veterans Day, and it's really a day based on World War I on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month. That's when they signed the armistice, World War I. It's not that big around the world anymore. And we just turned it into Veterans Day in like 1954 or something like that. And over the past 2 years, when I wasn't doing podcasts or YouTubes, I was helping seniors and veterans. And so that's a special place in my heart. And maybe Veterans Day is more an American thing, but anyone that has to serve in any Army, Navy, Marines, anywhere, and you're serving your country, this is a day for you, I think. Because whether we're on the same side now, sometimes I didn't live back in 1918, so I wasn't I wasn't at war with anyone. So if you're from a different country, I just, if you are serving your country, thank you for your service too. It's a tough thing, as you know. And that's kind of what today is. And I don't want to make it all about that because it's not a worldwide thing. I kind of thought it was, but it's not. So, I'm in the division. And spoiler alert, we're not going to finish it, so we're going to wipe. And we're going to wipe because we have a couple of people that haven't done this before, and they're just pushing ahead. And it's okay. Not everything. I like to show you the failures too, because not everything is going to work. You've got to realize that sometimes in life you just can't do what you do. What works sometimes doesn't work all the times. And, when I have a build video, I've tried to use the analogy that's kind of like in your life. You have different setups for different situations. And that's important. As a parent, it's important. You're not going to parent a 1-year-old like a 3-year-old, like a 5-year-old, like a 8-year-old, like a 12-year-old, like a 15-year-old, like a 18-year-old, like a 20-year-old, like a 30-year-old. And if you're blessed to live that long, like a 40-year-old, your kids, you're going to parent them all differently. And so one of the things having this flexibility, but I want to touch on something. I was listening to one of the podcasts I listened to, and they were talking about how some people just make bad decisions, and you wonder to yourself why they make the bad decisions. Like in the United States right now, there's like a lot of gambling things going on, and that people that are making a lot of money are gambling. And why would you make that decision? For example, there was a story about someone in baseball. They might be making a couple $1 million a year, but they were on line to make get a contract for like $100 million, maybe like 3 years for $33 million a year. And they lost all that because they're gambling for like $5,000. And so in the military, I've told this story before, but they had a stand down, which they took the entire Coast Guard and had us sit down for a day. And like in the space of a month, there was a small boat out of one of the harbors on the West Coast. I want to say it was in Oregon. And they went out and it was like too rough. And, the new juniorest person, the person that had been there just recently, was the only one that survived because he followed his training. What happens sometimes when you get into something that you've done a lot, you get complacent. Another thing was a helicopter crashed in the same area in the fog on the west coast of the United States. It's not flat and slope into the water like on the east coast. There's not like beaches like in North Carolina or Florida. It's like mountainous, so you just, so they're coming back from going out. It's foggy, and they just run into the cliff, and everyone dies. So we had this stand down, and you get in this group think, and you have a logical chain that's going, and it's just bad, and then you just keep doing it because no one will stand up and say, this is like wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. And I've always prided myself, like, even when I was senior, I'd always listen to people junior. And I would always explain things to people, give them context why we're doing stuff. Because I think that's important. If you know the context of what's going on, then you can make questions ahead of time. Then you can fully be engaged because you know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so I think that's important. And I think people make mistakes sometimes because they just get in these chains and they, bad direction at the start, and they just never make a change because they don't feel confident. They're not mature enough. They're under duress somehow. There's a whole bunch of reasons why they do it. It's not because people, what they explained in the what I was listening to, like in the podcast or the YouTube, was like, some people are just dumb. And it really doesn't have anything to do with that. I always was really confident. And how do you get confidence? You get confidence in training. And going back to this YouTube right now, and I'm doing a legendary. The last 3 legendaries I did, or 4 legendaries, we just walked through it like it was nothing. I told you this is one of the harder legendaries. And so I fully expected it. I look at people's score, watch score, and if their watch score is less than 1,000, I know what kind of day it's going to be. Sometimes it's not, but more times than not, it's this. And so constant doing things over and over, you get better. Actions without meaning are meaningless. I always try to tell my kids that. So if you're doing something, you got to do it with a purpose. What's the purpose? Well, I want to get better at it. If I'm just doing it to kill time, then you're going to reap what you sow, right? So YouTube, that's enough philosophizing for one day. I stay back. If we don't get past this part, we're certainly not getting past the next part. And we're never going to get past the final stage. Because the final stage is a DPS check. It's a survivability check. There's just no way it's going to happen. And I'm around 9,000. I think the other guy's 3,000, and one guy's like 92, and the other guy's like 387 or something. So it's just not going to happen. So I got my Linux fix. Don't be scared of Linux. If you have a Windows 10 machine, just go ahead and do it. So my next project is I have a relatively new computer that just died. And I think it needs a new hard drive, which I have, and I think there's a problem with the memory, and I think it might be dusty, and. So that might be a little bit bigger fix. But that was my main computer, and that's why I'm kind of in this mess. But I'd never go back to Windows on it either. Right? I would just stay with Linux. And kind of the last thing about Linux, if they can make a Linux for a Legion Go on your dumb brand name computer, it's going to work. It's going to work all day. There was a time when you would get a Linux distribution and it would only work on the most, mainstream. But it's amazing what it does. Why am I picking what I pick in the distribution? Let's talk about distributions one last time. Because they have updates, they're big enough that people are making drivers and those things. So there's some like niche distributions that are cool, but they don't have the horsepower. You got Cachy OS. Every day it's getting updated because it's based on Arch. Arch is kind of a rolling release where they're always updating stuff. And I think it's pretty safe, and I love it. It's great, and I'm very happy with it. So, crisis averted. YouTube, I'm going to die right there. Ronin Kaze out.